If you would like to 3D print your design from Blender, all we have to do is create different objects that are printable, and then we have to export them as STL. STL is the standard polygon format for 3D printing. So let's take a look at what I have here. You see I further refined this design a little bit. I added a wall thickness, I added some threading, I added also the opposite wall thickness and the space for the threading, because what I'm also really curious about is how well or precise the Ultimaker can print. So you can see here that the threading itself is kind of like face to face, but then there is a small gap between the piece I would screw in. And it's important that I have two different objects. So one of the quickest and easiest way now to 3D print is I select this object, go to File, and then say Export STL. However, before I do this, just make sure that your scale, everything here is applied. So to prevent that during the export, maybe the size of the model might change. So let's go back to Export STL. I will go to the desktop and let's say I call this one top and Z is up, scale, okay. I can use scene unit. Let's see what happens when we use a unit from Blender. Then I can select the other object. Oh, by accident I moved the part. I don't want to do that. In there. And File, Export STL. And export it. Okay. In Ultimaker, then we can load the different parts simply by click load. And we can, I think, select both at the same time. Yes, it does. Perfect. And then it places them for you. Here we can specify the print quality, which will affect also the print time. We can move them around a little bit. And the way how they are positioned right now is also the way how I would like to print them, which means horizontally are the build layers. My threading spirals up vertically. So my print layers will flow kind of like with the way how my threadings look. But also this is a circular object, so I will get a nice, layered pattern. If, for example, I would rotate this one, let's say 90 degrees, then my print layers will be horizontally, but as you can see now, they go more through my object from the left to the right, which might not necessarily look as good as I want, so I would like to print this one this way. I could maybe print this part on top, and you might ask yourself, well, why does he do this? Well, the problem with this particular part is I have an opening and then the inside here is capped. So I will need preferably to print this securely some support. With this button here, we turn on the support function. And you don't really see anything. That's okay. So let's then go to layers. And what layers will show you are all the different, print layers, including, and there we can see it at the base, the support. So here now we can go down and then you will see color coded wise what's outside, what's inside, more honeycombed surface. And then there you see the support layers. So let me go back, select this object, and then we rotate it so you can see what will happen. Oh, I clicked lay flat. No, that's not what I want. Rotate. Oh, okay, it's perfect. That's the way how it should have been. Good. Let's show layers. Oh, there, and now there you can see that the layers are actually inside the object. And then it builds a small tunnel, kind of like up. And then we are reaching the cap, it closes the support, so the cap can grow over it. And you see that's a little bit a lot of material, because I have all these vertical support material. The nice thing is my cap is clean, but it takes probably more material to print. So let's say 225, 3 meters. Let's say when we rotate this one 90 degrees or 180. See, it prints faster and less print material because there's less support. So this is pretty good. Now we can click on save it onto the SD card, put the SD card into the Ultimaker, and then load and print it. A second, albeit a little bit more advanced approach to create the STL models is by taking, for example, part, Shift D, and then I press Escape because I don't really want to move it. And then step by step, I apply all those modifiers. And then, as you can see, I have a polygon model. On this layer here, I have the other part as well. And now you might ask yourself, well, what's the advantage of this? First, those are dumb polygon meshes now. I can easily move them around. I can make an array of multiple parts for my printer, so I can just populate it if I have to print multiples. However, I can also use Blender's built-in 3D print toolbox, which you can find in user preferences, add-ons, and then type in 3D PR. Check it, so it will be loaded. And when I select an object and press T and then go to 3D toolbar, I can click on the volume and it tells me how much the volume is. However, much more important are the checks. The solid, are there internal faces? Is this really like a watertight object? So you want to see zeros here. And that basically means that more or less if I modeled cleanly at the beginning, this model will be pretty good already, nice and clean. So I can select these two, go to a folder, let's say desktop, accept, and when we click export, it will export that file to the desktop. And then we go to Cura, load. There are the two objects. And then there they are. The downside of this, however, is if we export all at the same time, you see they come as one. However, if you have really small parts and you space them evenly out, I can do this easily in Blender, and then in here only have to load in one file. Seriously, every approach has some advantage or disadvantage. But yeah, that's basically 3D printing your product designs from Blender with Cura on the Ultimaker 2 in a nutshell.